Hey guys, my name's Matt and I'm an American living in Okinawa, Japan. And in this video, I'm gonna go ahead and show you a tour of the apartment we rent here in Okinawa. And throughout the tour, I'm gonna explain some of the differences you may find in a Japanese apartment versus one that you rent in America or any other country. So hopefully this video helps you out a lot, and here's the tour of our apartment. So the first thing you'll notice right when you walk in is there's a sunken-in entryway. This is a place for you to take off your shoes before you enter the house. Very common in Japan. This is our first bedroom. It has its own air conditioning unit as well as tons of closet space for storage. This is the toilet room. It's actually very common in Japan to have a separate room just for the toilet. And ours has this built-in sink in the wall. This is our kitchen/dining room. It's a very big open area, nice wooden floors throughout the house, plenty of space to set up a dining room table in the middle. Here's the rest of our bathroom. This area has the sink and the washing machine. And there's also a separate room for the bath and shower. They section up the bathrooms like this in Japan because it's very common to have only one bathroom shared between the family. And when you section it off like this, you can have multiple people use the bathroom at once, and they all will have their own privacy. This is bedroom 2, the room I'm in right now. In Japan, rooms are typically measured by tatami. One tatami is a section of floor made of straw, and one tatami rectangle is about 3 by 6 feet. This room's size is 8 tatami. This last room, the floor is actually made up with traditional tatami mats. You can see there are 6 separate tatami mats in this room, so this room is 6 tatami big. Alright, you guys probably have some more questions, so let me go ahead and answer some of the most frequently asked questions that I get about moving to Japan or Okinawa, or maybe more about the apartment. So the first thing you probably notice in the tour is at the bottom I put 3DK and then our monthly rent. In Japan, when you're renting or buying a place, this is how they tell you the size of that place. The number usually represents how many bedrooms a place has, and it's typically followed by the letters LD or K. LDK stands for living room, dining room, kitchen. Ours is a DK, so it has a dining room and a kitchen. Sometimes places only have a K and others will have the LDK. So since our place is a 3DK, it's 3 bedrooms with a dining room and kitchen. Next thing I want to mention is, depending on how much you know already about moving to Okinawa, Japan, you may notice that $550 a month is a lot less than most foreigners will most likely pay in Okinawa or in Japan. So there's a couple reasons for this. Unlike in America, usually the older the place is in Japan, the less money it costs you to rent. I think our place was built in the early 90s, so in Okinawa that's considered fairly old. A new place of this size in Okinawa would probably be more in the $700 to $800 range. The second reason, though, being the biggest reason, is that my wife, Kit, was actually born and raised here, so we're actually paying just local Japanese prices. If you're a foreigner moving here, or if you're going to be stationed here in the military, you're going to be charged a lot more in rent, especially if you're military and have housing allowance. Now, there's a few reasons foreigners, and specifically military members, are charged more that I want you to understand. Because you don't speak the Japanese language, you're pretty much forced to go to a housing agency that caters to English speakers. So your options already become limited. If you're a normal Japanese citizen or resident, when you go and rent a place, you will most likely need a co-signer. Regardless of who you are or how much money you make at your job, they want you to have a reliable co-signer just in case for some reason you can't make a payment. The Japanese culture is all about family and togetherness. That alone makes it really hard for an independent person just to go out and find their own place. There has to be someone else that's financially stable, that's not living with you, that is willing to take on the burden if you're not able to pay your rent. That being said, even for a Japanese citizen and resident, if you don't have one of those, there are still options for you to get your own place to live. However, I feel like more often than not, places do want you to have that. But if you end up finding a place that doesn't need you to have a cosigner, they will most likely just charge you more money to rent it because they see you as more risk. Now, when it comes to foreigners coming and renting places in Japan, they charge foreigners and American military especially exponential amount of money, because what can happen is foreigners can just leave abruptly without any notice. Especially if you're military, you can have orders to be stationed somewhere else in the next couple months. So they just see foreigners as high risk, and they're not really going to be long-term tenants. You have to understand that usually when a Japanese person rents a place, they end up staying there for pretty much their whole life. These houses and even apartments just end up being the family's house and the family's apartment. So even if something happens to the original renters, most likely the family will continue to live in that household. So to sum all of that up, if you're planning on moving here from another country, expect to pay a lot more than the locals. Depending on the season, our electricity bill ranges anywhere from $90 to $150 a month. We have one parking space allocated to ourselves, and because we live in a fairly dense city area in Okinawa, which actually you can expect to live in a fairly dense city area wherever you move in Japan, if your place doesn't come with a parking space, you're most likely going to be paying a monthly fee for a parking space. In fact, some of the places we were looking to rent actually had the parking fee separate from the apartment. So you could actually rent the apartment without actually renting a parking space. Again, this would really depend on the area you're in, but in our area, parking spaces go for around $40 to $80 a month. I think most of you that do want to move here will end up living in some sort of city area, because I believe that 80% of Japan's population actually lives in what's considered like a city area. And one thing I actually really found to enjoy about this, as opposed to living in like the American suburbs, is that I can walk to anywhere, and in less than a mile, I can get pretty much everything I ever need. Wherever you are, I feel like there's at least gonna be a convenience store within walking distance from your place. And if you know anything about the convenience stores in Japan, you could pretty much do everything there. We pay our bills there. You could do a lot of your banking there. Obviously, you could pick up food and groceries, anything you need, just general supplies. However, in our area, we also have tons of restaurants in walking distance. We have a giant mall that's right down the street. Everything you need is there. There's a giant hardware store that way. We're on a main road, and on this main road, there's 20 or 30 restaurants probably within a quarter mile of us. So if you don't mind walking, I think that's one thing you'll thoroughly enjoy about renting a place here. If you think I missed anything or have any more questions about renting a place in Japan, please leave a comment below. And if I get enough comments, I might just do a part 2 to this video. Otherwise, I'll just answer them in the comments below. So thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I will see you in the next video.